little fella's gonna grow. I gotta tell him what he needs to know. Help him along so he'll know right from wrong. Gotta make him strong. As life's parade goes trudging by, you need to know some reasons why. I don't have all the answers, but I'll try best that I can. Gonna help him to plan so he'll be a man.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
This is WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial, coming to you from the campus of City College in Harlem, USA. The program that you're about to hear, Respect for Life, does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of WHCR, nor that of the administration of City College. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program who are live and live in color in studio by phone interview. And of course, there is you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, the first-class citizens of the world. To God belongs the glory, and we want to thank the Most High for blessing us with another day on this good earth, another day to be with you and you to be with us in a classroom setting where you can exchange ideas and ask questions of the individuals whom we bring to WHCR. Harlem Community Radio, that's WHCR, representing the various segments of the Harlem community that are traditionally overlooked by the so-called general media, and our mandate is to reflect you, those individuals who have not had a voice, and it goes beyond the Harlem area and the South Bronx, etc. And Respect for Life deals with mental health, enabling us to gain information that will enable us to preserve what we have and to help others and to reclaim what we may have lost. And self-image is very, very important for each and every one of us. We're going to continue a discussion that we started last week, and that's on the subject of confidence and self-esteem. We're going to bring in willpower. Up, you mighty nation, you can accomplish what you will. You can accomplish as you will. Just a note of announcement, and that is on Lifetime Cable, there is a film that says it deals with Coretta Scott King and Betty Shabazz. And there are some negative things in there regarding them. And on Sunday, Sister Ava Muhammad gave a presentation that is available on NOI.org. NOI.org, you go on and you look for webcasts, and you will hear her dissecting that particular film, NOI.org. And Tuesday night on Blog Talk Radio, blogtalkradio.com/The Keys 107, we have an individual who has assessed the financial situation in America, how they're stealing money right in front of us, billions of money. And his name is Les Leopold. He's written a book called How to Make $1 Million, How to Make $1 Million an Hour. He talks about the hedge funds and that impacts on you and I. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I still hang around, neither lost nor found. I hear the lonely sounds of music in the night. Nights are always bright. That's all that's left for me.
Can't hear no more, Sister Randy Crawford. That's a CD. Randy Crawford and Joe Sample live with Steve Gadd and Nicholas Sample. And Randy Crawford and Joe Sample live, recommended to me by my cousin down at JR Music. He also recommended to me the other day. I didn't get them, but Marley's son, Bob Marley's son, and Jimmy Cliff. He said these two are hot. I said they hot. He said, man, I said so. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, continuing with our discussion last week, and remember, this is a classroom opportunity for you to join in, ask questions, any terms that you may not understand, any concepts that you may not understand, you are free to ask your question. The telephone number 212-650-6903, 212-650-6903, and on the internet, your friends outside the listening area, they can plug in by way of Facebook, Digital Partners, that's on Facebook, Digital Partners, something like that, and on regular www.whcr.org, Dr. Kwabena Fahim Ashanti is our guest. Thank you for joining us, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Want to go into continuing the breakdown of self-esteem and confidence, and that is a subject coming out of a conversation that we had several interviews ago, where I took confidence and self-esteem to be the same thing, and you corrected me and pointed out that there's a young lady who is the head of a school in Kansas City, Kansas, I think, or Missouri, who did a research, and her findings were quite interesting to me, and I know to the audience. So just tell us what her findings were, and go into the definition from a psychologist standpoint of confidence and self-esteem, and we'll pursue from there.
Okay. The name of the researcher was Dr. Bernadette Gray Little. She is now the president, I think this is the university, president of University of Kansas, the school that's super good in basketball. She's a black lady. I knew her when she was at University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. She's an expert in that discipline of self-esteem. Matter of fact, most black graduate students in the social science, when they go to graduate school and they have to do a thesis or anything like that, almost all of them do something that relating to something about black people, and self-esteem happens to be just one of them. However, most of the major research though has been done by white researchers, and they publish these findings in their scientific journals. Now, what she did, Dr. Gray Little did, she took all of the known major studies that's ever been published in scientific research journals, and when she checked them, and when she applied statistical analysis to them, and what she found was absolutely mind-boggling. She discovered that the people with the highest self-esteem in the United States, in fact, were descendants of slaves, or us today, black people, had the highest self-esteem than anybody in the United States. But when you hear the speakers talk, civil rights speakers, social workers, all these things, they repeat what they've heard white people say, and that is that we must find a way to improve our students' self-esteem. Because if we did that, they would stop acting and behaving the way they do. But truth of the matter is we have the highest and most positive self-esteem among all races in the United States. For example, if you look at California, Maryland, and a number of other states, they have actually built in programs into the curriculum improving self-esteem, but that wasn't done for black people. That was done for white people.
And when we look at self-esteem, what is the definition from the psychologist, social worker standpoint of self-esteem, and what is the definition of confidence?
Well, in general, self-esteem means what a person thinks about how person feels about themselves as a human being. So if you have high self-esteem, then you think you are okay as a human being. You may have some faults or stuff like that, but you accept them, and so it's not troublesome for you. But so therefore, it's in general, self-esteem is what a person thinks of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Confidence.
Self-confidence, on the other hand, although related to self-esteem, is a completely different phenomenon. Self-confidence is the ability to achieve something. It's what a person thinks they are able to successfully complete or to achieve. And therefore, most blacks have very high self-esteem, but extremely low self-confidence. Mm-hmm. And very few people ever work on improving our self-confidence because they're pursuing a false doctrine, which is self-esteem.
No.
So anything I do, basically, particularly around achievement or improving the grades, I first start with improving their self-confidence itself, and there's a method of doing that.
Now, when you look at the historical context of film in the United States, the film industry, especially in, well, up to maybe the 60s, it's maybe softened, but there were these obvious caricatures of blacks as being lazy, as being comedy figures, meaning, you know, figures to make mockery of, and having characteristics that were funny, exaggerated, the cartoons portrayal of blacks. Now, I interpret that as being directed at the self-image of the black person. Two things: the image that goes to the non-blacks, so that they look at black people with a certain eye, and that blacks, the portrayal of them in movies, makes them look upon themselves that way. So how does that, it obviously, with us having, according to her research, her analysis of these studies, that we have the highest in self-esteem of all groups, that means that we have weathered the onslaught of the negative images. How does that play out?
Well, and those characters that you were speaking of in the movies in the past as well as today actually are designed to attack both. They attack black people's self-esteem and their self-confidence. So if you look at them, they make them look kind of stupid, which they don't look like normally. And then two, they show them bumbling and failing at everything something important they're trying to achieve. So it's attacking self-esteem and self-confidence. However, the amazing thing in particular about black mothers and families and our neighborhood people is that they control their own self-esteem, and they don't. And the way they do it is they if you notice, any black parent or any of these black people around a little baby, they constantly are bombarding them with, "Ooh, how pretty she is! Ooh, she's so smart! Ooh, she's very inquisitive. She's gonna be this. She's gonna be she's great." And that child, it don't matter whether the child lives in the projects or whether the child lives in Sugar Hill. The baby is constantly bombarded with that all their life. Even though they might go to school and say somewhere around in about the 4th grade, they start hearing otherwise. And the child grades begin to drop from very high to very low right about the 4th grade, particularly with boys. And yet, when they go home, they're not punished for this. The parents are constantly saying, "You somebody, you can learn anything you want to learn." And they keep that high self-esteem up there. But the self-confidence comes because they have seen too many times in the news, in the courts, in the newspapers, life in general or personally, racial discrimination happening, blocking people from being able to do or to achieve certain things. So that's the way that works.
Okay, and when we look at will, as in Marcus Garvey's statement, up you mighty nation, you can accomplish what you will. And there's a variation of that, up you mighty nation, you can accomplish as you will. How does will play into confidence, self-esteem?
Will itself is a concept that teaches you to begin to imagine that you can achieve something, to imagine what you can do. And if you have low self-confidence, it destroys the will to even do that. So repeating that phrase, with your will, you can do anything, blah, 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 that's trying to wake it up, combat it. That's for example. So we hear that quite often, especially back during the day, but that gave us the psychological and spiritual energy, if you will, to do not let what the obstacles out there hold you back, keeping you from doing what you need to do. Even though you may be afraid, you do not let your fear stop you from moving forward. That's the concept of the will.
So one of the things in terms of white supremacy, and the flip side of that is black inferiority, in my estimation, if I'm off, from your standpoint, just let me know, is that there has been up to the 60s and 70s the blocking of black people from getting into certain positions, whether it's in business, academia, politics. And the connotation is that we weren't ready or we couldn't do. Now, and as we got into those positions, whether male or female, we have found that we can do and that we can excel on our own. When I say on our own, after we get into a thing, we start swimming in it. And the point being that as we get into these positions, I'm thinking that the confidence level of the individual in those positions and the confidence concept of those blacks who look at blacks in those positions, that becomes higher. And also it may have a heightening effect on self-esteem. Your response?
Well, that is an all too common example in the past and right now to this very day, because many of our people are getting into positions now, regardless of how they got there, whether or not it's through affirmative action, of laws or civil rights action. We're getting into positions, much higher positions now. And we're finding out that we not only can do the work, but we actually achieve and bring back innovations and make it that kind of work even better. However, though, the rewards for doing that are not applied equally as it does to white people. For example, you could be working in some place for 20 years, and you can be the supervisor. But somehow you never quite make it up to be the vice president. But they will send whites to you for you to train, and the trainee end up being your boss. So we still see that to this very day. And so we have workshops and advise strategies of how to, quote, break the glass ceiling. For example, among white women, that whole concept of breaking the glass ceiling or to be rewarded for your work and be promoted was started by white women, but black people also get gradually join it, and we have many workshops on how to put your best foot forward or how to network so you can move up. One of the biggest things going now in the world of work is networking, so to speak. That is teaching black people how to hook themselves up to very powerful white people, and so that they can be mentored, monitored, And those white people, if they take a liking to you, will open doors for you, and therefore you are highly more likely than one who don't have that mentor to move forward into another sphere.
Mm-hmm. And this is Respectful Life coming to you over WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial. Our guest online is Dr. Ashanti, Dr. Kwabena Fahim Ashanti, and his expertise is in deprogramming black folks from the brainwashing of white supremacy. And the telephone number is 212-650-6903. This discussion is good for parents, for students in college and high school who may be listening, definitely for guardians as to understanding the concepts of confidence, self-esteem, and will. And as you begin to play around with those, you can begin to harness additional power for yourself and your family. Now, in terms of building confidence, what are some steps that we can utilize with our own mature adult selves to build confidence, and what about what we might implement with our children and our grandchildren to build confidence?
Well, I think one of the first things is to recognize what you're talking about and what you're saying about what research has said about, in general, about all black people. And that is, we have high self-esteem. We are confirming what a person really already knows, but we're beginning to doubt it because they hear from such important people, black and white, that is low. So we're confirming, in fact, that what you think of yourself, you're a good person, I'm just as good as about, that's true. However, the self-confidence has been basically stored on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being perfect self-esteem. We scored somewhere around about 1.5 on that scale from 1 to 5. So we have almost no self-esteem left. I mean, self-confidence. And that's for reason, that's for cause. So there are ways that we can build up that self-confidence, and parents can certainly do this with their children in particular. And that is, always find something, however small it can be, to almost guarantee that if you have your child or tell your child to do something, they can achieve it, they can accomplish it. Show them and reward them for doing it. Go out of your way to find something for them to do. For example, you may tell them to go and put your shoes or something under their bed. That's very small and simple. But once they walk in and do that, that's showing that they've accomplished something. So the task gets larger and larger until they get very strong. So also, those individuals who play sports in particular, football, basketball, track, any of those games, in fact, have been documented to improve a person's self-confidence because they have to work as a team with all kinds of people, other teammates who are black, white, Chinese, you name it. They're working together, and in the process of doing that, they win games, and then they eventually win the state championship. That builds high self-confidence, and from that, many of them are the first in line, and they are given free scholarship to go to college where they don't have to pay anything. All they have to do is just continue to win and play football or sport.
Hold on, my brother. God bless you. Thank you for your call. You're on the Black Ear with Dr. Ashanti.
Yes, sir.
You're on the air. Turn your radio down, brother.
Yes, sir.
And this is WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial, on the internet, www.whcr.org. Yes, sir. God bless you. Thank you for your call.
And God bless the both of you, brother. It's nothing more important than intelligent conversation during the first day of the week.
Thank you.
Getting back to confidence and self-esteem, those are two very important terms. Now, how do we get our youth, our crime, what they call black-on-black crime? Black people, young black people are killing black people. They have no sense of respect for life. How do we reach our youth? This is the main thing. you know, a lot of things that you're saying, it's like preaching to the choir. Those of us who are intelligent and who was raised up on more advanced consciousness of what life is all about, how do we get to our youth as it regards confidence and self-esteem to get us to stop killing each other? I'm going to hang up and listen.
Brother caller, why don't you indicate that you have had experience in the education field, and that is not just a call from a consumer, but that you have seen up close conflict and near conflict and in some cases conflict resolution in your course of work.
Yes, sir. I think you know who I am, Brother Leroy.
Well, I don't. It's not even important. It's that puts it in a different context,
yes,
as an educator who's seen, as opposed to a consumer, an everyday person outside of the academic or social work setting, who sees it and just shakes their head.
Yes,
when you're up close, as you have been, and your spirit says that you have tried to do some things that would help our people, our young people, and may not have been successful as you wanted to. I've just set the stage for his response, so you can listen over the air, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my brother. Dr. Shanti.
I really appreciate the question from that brother, because most of the time we don't get the questions. We get people telling us what's wrong, and most of the time what they're telling us what's wrong is wrong. So let's take the example with an athlete. Let's take Duke University's basketball team, or let's take University of North Carolina basketball team, or any high school team that's in your area. Especially those that have a tradition of winning. The first thing the new recruit is told when he is even being recruited or first go to the school is what is the history of athletes at that school. And therefore they're bringing them in to carry on that tradition. So if you use the same concept with education, then my experience, let's take, for example, students who we want to produce more black engineers or more black mathematicians or black medical doctors. The first thing I tell them is you have the same gene or the same DNA within yourself that a great African philosopher by the name of Whcr and the great who designed the Great Pyramids 10,000 years ago, or Akhenaten, the great African pharaoh, who was came up with the first concept of serving one God. I say you have the same gene in you. Then I show them pictures of it. I talk about it. I teach them intentionally from examples that covers every facet of most of their lives, ranging from how to walk, how to think, how to act, how to farm, how to build. At least 10,000 years before we became to America and was enslaved to be only a half human being. So I build that memory. I go to their memory bank and I put new information in that they have never been told in their life, and I can document and show it to them. Then I come up eventually to the United States and tell them about our ancestors who were slaves and how they achieved and came up to where we are today. Then, by then, I always point out that these were African people. These were black people who did all these things. Where were white people? Where were Chinese? Where were Indians? Well, they hadn't, at least in the first 10,000 years, they hadn't been created yet. And when they were created, they created from the loins and the genes of African people. We are white people's ancestral mothers and fathers. And I'm telling you, once that's done, they begin to see themselves in possibilities they have never seen themselves before, such as, I can learn anything.
Hold your point
And
right
I'm
there.
telling you, their behavior will start changing. And you can document. I've had 30 years of this experience. If you do what I'm telling you, you will get the same experience. It's the same thing, too. That will stop the killing.
Hold on, Doc.
Now, however, let me just point out.
No, Doc.
Jealousy,
Doc,
envy, and
Doc, hold on 1 second. Okay.
WHCR 90.3 FM.
We have to identify ourselves at the half hour and at the quarter. And this is WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial. And that voice that you hear coming out of North Carolina, somewhere down south, is Dr. Kwabena Fahim Ashanti. You can look him up in Google and maybe even in YouTube and find some speeches, some presentations by him. You were going into envy and jealousy.
yes.
Go ahead.
Envy, jealousy, competition, anger, all of these are human emotions found in all groups. I don't care what group it is. It's a human emotion. But how you act out on it, that's something that is taught or learned. And the same way you can learn to be aggressive, you also can learn that it's okay to be aggressive, but you do not take another life. All life belongs to the creators, to the gods. And so you wouldn't dare do that because your ancestors will take it out on you, not only you, but on your future children who are unborn. So that's a serious thing to do. So that's why, you see, very little crime among Africans toward each other. Most crime you see with Africans, that's when they're attacking another ethnic group or another nation, but not for personal reasons.
Telephone number 212-650-6903, 212-650-6903. And got to pause for another announcement. It's not a station ID. It's something that is coming up this week. And Brother Leroy almost missed the opportunity to share it with you. So stay tuned for 1 minute, and we'll be right back.
I remember house when house was soul music and R&B, before house was disco. I remember house when house was about love. House was about love.
Hi, this is astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn inviting you to meet me at WHCR's Valentine's Day party on Thursday, February 14th. I'll be doing relationship readings that will hopefully lead you to your soulmate. WHCR's house music DJs, DJ Mike B, DJ Vince the Prince, DJ Justice, and DJ Black Icon 1 will be spinning the wheel. There will be free food, a cash bar, and admission is only $10. That's Heartspeed when house people meet. Thursday, February 14th at Image Nation's Raw Space, located at 2031 Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard between 121st and 122nd Street. I'll see you there.
The great Brother Lloyd Strayhorn, one of the great humanists. And I want to thank all of those who have contributed to WHCR and indicated that they are doing it for the various talk shows that we have here, and including Respect for Life and Harlem 411 and the Communicators, and Brother Ricky Young's What's in Your Hand, Sister Nellie Bailey's program that comes on Monday evenings, and Sister Flo Wiley's show, and the other talk shows that we have, including the Law's program on Wednesday. Getting back in terms of children, you indicated giving tasks that can be easily accomplished and then building on those. What about the teenagers? How do we guide some young brothers and sisters who've been beat over the head? And when I say beat over the head, mentally given the message that they can't learn, that they aren't college material, they aren't high school material, etc. How do we begin to work some science with them?
Well, one thing that I do, and I highly recommend anybody do it, and that is I show them real life successes from people who look just like them and had that same essential background. For example, I would show them records, actual records. If I work with a small group, say like from 30 to 40 people, I would have already worked with 30 or 40 people long before I see the new group. And I would have records that I would pull of their grades before and then their grades afterwards after working with me in my program. And I would show them, and when they see it, it's almost like their eyes fall out of their head. They can't possibly believe it. I'm talking about these students that I tell them that if they do what I'm saying, work with me, that I can guarantee them their GPA in the next semester would be an A-. And they haven't seen an A in so long they wouldn't know what to do. But and they find it hard to believe. But I have to show them proof. And then each following week, I give them tasks on how to study and how to relate to what they're studying. For example, I teach them stretching movements, actual physical stretching movements, bending over, stretching, leaning one way after another, before they actually sit down to study, because that triggers the rush of the blood to the brain.
God.
And therefore, when you start to sit down, you give yourself instructions that I will remember 80% more than I normally do in the past. And that's what would happen. And you do that consistently. So you keep building upon that each week. Also, in my groups itself, I do not allow them to take notes. I teach them that anything that means anything to them, they will remember. For example, if I say I'm going to give you $5,000 next week, you don't have to write that down. You will remember that. So it's the same thing with any subject. And so I don't allow them. So I teach them how to use their brain. But I said, now what happens here? You would carry that over into the classroom. But you can take notes in there. I encourage you to take notes in there, but not in here.
Telephone number 212.
And that's for males and females.
Yes, sir. 212-650-6903. Thank you for your call. God bless you. You are on the air.
Yes, I have a question for the doc.
Yes, sir.
I want to know, how does he think we should combat the collective economic interregnum, and how do we gain economic equity?
You got that, Doc?
No, sir. You sort of interpret that for me.
Okay, caller, just give your question again.
Okay, my question is, how do we collectively combat the lack of participation economically in our society, and how do we gain equity? I listened to the other brother talk about that.
That's a very good question, and that's something that's a part of my daily life. With doing what I'm telling you to improve the students' self-confidence and doing these same tasks I'm talking about or something similar, then the next thing, they will learn how to become self-sufficient. They will learn how to start thinking about creating jobs itself and cooperating with other people like them economically. That's not a problem with them then. It's the problem with for people who've never gotten back their African personality. That's the problem. So doing what I'm saying automatically leads to that. For example, if I had 40 people and they went through my training, I can guarantee you, based on past results, at least 5 of them would start a business that actually lead up to their own full-time employment, even though they already are working for somebody else.
Okay, Doc, you, in previous dialogue, the 9 building blocks of power is part of your training.
That's correct.
And within that is the component or the box that heightens the mind and awareness of entrepreneurship or doing for self.
That's correct. That's that block of ideology, how you act upon what you believe. what you conceive. Ideology is how you act and behave, and one of them is to create economic self-sufficiency. So it's built in, and not only they practice it each time they come. I use play money, where they are taught cooperative economics, and they save that money, and then at the end of the course, therefore they take that money and must do something economically with it for everybody in the group.
You got to play out a session for us. Example.
Okay. When they come to the session, they take seats that's been arranged in an Afrocentric direction. That means semicircle. With me, the leader, are in front. And when they come and sit down, then I come to the front and we give a greeting in an African language. For example, a kwaba. And they would say back, Yahoo, which means I acknowledge you. Then I ask them take the position. They get up out of their chairs, go to the wall, where we have a series of stretching exercises they must do before we even begin class. Then after they do a series of stretching, they take their seats. Then I have a lesson that I cover. I have a different lesson throughout for over a 4-month period. Okay, and each class lasts about 2 hours. And it is co-ed. I highly recommend co-ed every time over single sex. That makes me different there. But I use the competition. The females tend to excel fast, and then when the African males notice it, they say, well, they're not going to beat us, so they start working hard as hell. The competition is healthy and intense as I don't know what. And in addition to that, they have to act out every role in the power blocks, which dealing with race, agriculture, philosophy, ideology, religion, culture, ethnic group, rituals of education, weapons, and media, communications. All of that is put into play during that whole session of training, and you literally develop a concept of a nation itself that's identical to the United States, China, India, Russia, all nations with a nuclear bomb.
So in terms of his question, that how do we get around the blocks that have been set up within this system for our non-production, such as businesses that have innovative characteristics and can't make it as easily, and I'm not talking about as easy as white folks, but as easily as the books have said, if you learn this and you work hard and you put out a shingle or a sign, you should do well. And when we get into the zone, we find out that the system is set up to benefit others, and we really have to crack that thing. So the approach that you are alluding to is that within ideology, how one acts, how one sees themselves, right?
Well, actually, the soil has to be prepared long before you get to ideology. It goes back to race itself. Okay? I first teach them that they are African, who are citizens of America. That's the first thing I teach them. And then I show them who the Africans were in the past and who they are now, and it's positive. I also require them to look at the culture block, to take a culture ethnic block, to choose an African name. And every name, all African name I know is a positive name, and it has a specific meaning for something. And I let them choose that from themselves and get it in the way they want to. I don't care, plus I can provide them books. But they must choose an African name, and they then come up and announce it to the whole class. This is my American name, and this is my African name, and this is what it means, and I picked this name because of blah, blah, blah. Now, from that, we then start building up, we talk about agriculture, which is understanding the role that food plays in our society. What good is to have a multi-billion-dollar business if your health is bad? You can't walk. You can't think. So I teach them the interests of eating, medicine, etc., housing structure, all that comes from the agriculture block. Then we go to philosophy. How did I get here? How did people get here? I take them to the concept of philosophy, what we believe, back to the origin, if you will, of that question and the answers to that long before the Greeks ever even heard of it and began to take it and found it to create the Bible itself. So we are people before and after the Christian Bible. Now, I go general on the religion part, but that's a part that's a must right there. Then we go to looking at, we have already started to make a connection between ourselves here in America and Africa, the number one economic hub and generator in the whole world. United States, China, India, Russia, England, everybody's scrambling to get into Africa because that's where all the major natural resources come from to make our life good for over here. However, they don't have access to exploiting their products other than they're selling it to white people or giving it to white people or however way it's done. But with our people, they have already made a connection, so I show them how to connect up with African entrepreneurs in Africa where they can get these raw goods with very little money. It's a trust factor there. They have the products, we have the people over here. Put the two together, and you can start a business simply as shea butter, and you can become a multi-millionaire.
Dr. Kwabena Fahim Ashanti is our guest only for a few more minutes. The telephone number 212-650-6903, 212-650-6903. When I laugh, I'm just laughing to keep from crying because there are so many to-do brothers and sisters in the U.S. that I'm learning about. Every time I do an interview, I'm learning someone, somewhere, somehow. There's a multi-billionaire. He's out in the Midwest, and that interview came with someone in the business in the financial area. Share with us before we close. Share with us some victories that come to mind, working with young people, working with adults. And I'm saying, turnarounds, people coming into your orbit and you imparting the knowledge and guidance, and you see a complete turnaround for the best. Give us a couple of examples.
Well, it's so wide and broad, I almost don't know which example to pick, but I'll give you one. There is a young man by the name of Dr. Hasim Kambui. When I first got him, his name was James Williams. Now, he wanted to major in physics, but the black counselors told him that because of his grades or his technique, he never would be successful at doing physics. So go into sociology. Well, to make a long story short, he was so bad that he was one step from being flunking out of school when he came to me to look at how he withdrew from university. When I found out his major, I said, my God, we need people in physics. So therefore, I showed him other people who were like him who graduated with a degree in physics. So I worked with him. Gradually, then he graduated with a 2.2 GPA in physics. So therefore, he couldn't get a job. So I said, well, do you like kind of work out? And he said, yeah, that's what I like to do, like what you do. So I called a friend of mine that got him into school on probationary status. Because normally you have to have a 3.5 or something like that. That's what they tell you to get a master's degree, but that's not true, really. It's you contact who you know. So, anyway, he got him in. He graduated. Then he got a full scholarship back to another major university, and this time it was in counseling psychology. He is now almost my disciple. He knows almost as much as me because I've taught him over a 14-year period, teaching him and showing him. He statistic movie. He is now an assistant professor at Florida A&M University. Then there's, let's see, there's, I would say, there's at least 15 authors who've written books on various subjects that were generated from being in the program. It's kind of a standard kind of thing. I'm no longer surprised at that part. Now, I would point this out. This program is very, very intensive and somewhat frightening to people who recognize that they have not been told the truth about themselves and their history. Particularly those who are very religious, Christians who are very religious, they find out that their mother, their father, their grandmother, and grandfather, their church, all have been victims themselves, and so that really scares them. But so therefore, they will take maybe half the training and walk away. However, I would say usually within 4 to 5 years, I would hear from them people again. And I wouldn't recognize them because they don't change their name. They're doing well, they're in graduate school, and it takes a second and they tell me these things. So I have many examples of how it works. My problem is finding people who will believe me because I am not part of the status quo.
Yes.
Because I'm not so, I don't get invitations to these national conferences on how to stop the violence or how to improve their grades. People like me, Malifia Asante, Melina Tarango, you never see us. They don't invite us. So if you want the help you need, you will contact one, especially me, on how to do this. I'm too willing to teach people how to do it.
Telephone number 212-650-6903. We have time for one more call here on Respect for Life, coming to you over WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial. This morning you have been treated to another great class, in my opinion. Well, if I benefit, I say, hey, you know, I'm the one who benefited, but I think that benefit is stretching far and beyond myself. 212-650-6903. How do folks connect with you?
Well, I have a web page finally now that's up, and it's KF Ashanti, ASHANTI, KFAshanti.com, and on there you will see these building principles I'm talking about, and how to apply them. You'll see articles that I've written. You will see my address, how to contact me, and so forth. My telephone number is area code 919-452-4262.
Hold tight, Doc.
KWABENA.
Doc, hold on. Caller, thank you for your call. You're on the Black Air. God bless you.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Sensei Barry, and want to ask the doctor that is there's a way that he could come speak to our event on the 23rd of this month at the National Black Theater about those steps.
No question. Call me, and we're going to make arrangements. And right now, for a group like that, I will find a way to come and speak. Be glad to speak to your group.
Give us your telephone number again.
919-452-4262.
Okay, brother.
One more time, please.
Okay. Repeat that.
Area code 919-452-4262. Call me and indicate that you heard me on this radio show, and I will give you top priority on that. Be glad to.
All right, my brother.
Okay. Repeat that number one more time because I didn't get the pin. 919
452
4262.
Gotcha.
All right.
Also within my book, Psychotechnology of Brainwashing, Healing the Lingering Consequences of Ancestral Slavery. That's my book. And that book is now available.
Okay. All right.
Sir.
Thank you. And this is WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial. Dr. Kwabena Fahim Ashanti, and your website again. Please share that with us.
A-K-F Ashanti. A-K-F Ashanti. A-S-H-A-N-T-I .com.
Just a question before we leave out of here, and that is, did you get a chance to see the Lifetime movie, Coretta and Betty Shabazz?
Yeah, I saw that, and what they showed was a sign that I never knew existed in the first place. It showed a very close relationship, but most important, though, it showed how Martin Luther King's wife, in particular, being so dedicated, steered completely away from the teachers of her husband and put her children through what she considered the best schools, the United Nations schools, and it was a disaster. It doesn't work.
We're going to have to, I know there's a piece being written by Peter Bailey. Peter Bailey is down in Washington area. He's writing a piece in defense of Betty and the portrayal of her and her children in that. And there's some other things going on. So it's when we look at that, and I've only seen portions of that, it's interesting how folks are, if we don't write our history, if we don't video, if we don't film, if we don't act out our history, others will come along, script it, and give us something that folks will take for the truth. Brother Kwabena Fahim Ashanti, thank you very much once again for a beautiful class. And as we leave, your telephone number is 919-452-4262 for those who are interested in one more question. Very quickly, your question.
Yes, hello, my brother. This is Stefan Omar calling from the village of Harlem, and thank you, brother, for taking my call. Professor, I don't know if you're familiar with the historian J.A. Rogers, who wrote many books on black history. And what I'd like to know, being that this is Black History Month, I believe...
You got to speak up. Your question is, okay, being that this is Black History Month, because I'm on a time thing down, brother.
Okay, well, how is it that we could get people like his ilk into the classrooms? J.A. Rogers, one of the famous black historians, most of our children never even heard of him, and also Carter B. Woodson, who wrote the book, The Miseducation of the Negro.
How can we get those materials in and to be talked about?
Exactly.
Okay.
He can to my website, and he will see films, audio tapes, and all of my books that will be available to put in the classroom.
No, he's talking about getting J.A. Rogers and Carter G. Woodson to be talked about in the classroom.
They don't apply to what I'm talking about. I'm the opposite of Carter. Carter G. Woodson talk about the end results of what happened if you don't do it. My book is about how you do it in the first place. So the two go together, but I would read Carter G. Woodson first, then my book. Or if you've never heard of Carter G. Woodson, just do what I say, it takes care of the problem.
Excellent. My brother, thank you very much. God bless you with a beautiful, beautiful week.
Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this show. Thank you so much.
All right, my brother. Peace.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support of WHCR. Anytime you listen to this great radio station, down at the end of the dial, people stumble onto it by error, well, it ain't error, it's divine guidance. They stumble onto it, they listen, they say, who? They hear Brother Eddie Love, and he's on alternate Saturday nights. He was on this past Saturday evening, Brother Eddie Love, and that's a gem of a show. If you get the chance on Saturday evenings, tune in to Eddie Love, and you're in for a treat. Once again, this is WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial. Tonight, Sister Nellie Bailey comes on at 6 o'clock, followed by the computer show. And tomorrow night on www.blogtalkradio.com/The Keys 107, I have a guy who's written some very revealing things about what's going on in the financial section of this great USA. The Looting of America is one of his books, and How to Make $1 Million an Hour is his most current book. His name is Les Leopold. Tune him in on YouTube, and you get an idea of the kind of conversation we should have tomorrow night on blogtalkradio.com/The Keys 107. God bless you all with a wonderful and a fantastic day.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
I remember house when house was soul music and R&B before house was disco. I remember house when house was about love. House was about love.
Hi, this is astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn inviting you to meet me at WHCR's Valentine's Day party on Thursday, February 14th. I'll be doing relationship readings that will hopefully lead you to your soulmate. WHCR's house music DJs, DJ Mike D, DJ Vince the Prince, DJ Justice, and DJ Black Icon 1 will be spinning the wheels. There will be free food, a cash bar, and admission is only $10. That's Hearts Meet when house people meet Thursday, February 14th at Image Nation's Raw Space, located at 2031 Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard between 121st and 122nd Street. I'll see you there.
Applewhite Hospitality Academy Incorporated. AHA is a school that provides training and education to those interested in pursuing jobs in hotels, restaurants, spas, catering halls, and on cruise ships. AHA offers career retraining and workforce development for those displaced by the current economy. AHA provides direct job training for entry-level positions, such as restaurant servers, hotel guest room attendants, bus persons, hotel banquet workers, maintenance workers, and laundry attendants. AHA's accredited curriculum is provided by the American Hotel and Lodging Association.